Hello, everyone. This is tonight's show with Joel A. Erickson and Brandon Marcello. That's what the computer's here for. And later, I'm going to break in a sketch, like Jimmy Fallon.
Hi-yo!
Anyway, now we're here to talk about a little bit more about
Hey now.
Will Muschamp's first meeting with the media in 3 months after the second day of practice, and talking a little bit about what to expect from the defense next year. There's been a lot of talk about a lot more linebackers, that kind of thing, but he was kind of saying the game's changed. You're not going to have 3 and 4 linebackers on the field a whole lot.
That sounds like a great tagline to a movie. The game has changed. Will Muschamp said that they spend 70 to 80% of their time nickel and dime, and so when you hear about it being a straight 4-3, it just really has shifted quite a bit over the last, I'd say, 3-4 years, especially in the SEC, as you're starting to see more up-tempo offenses coming into things. So, when you specifically ask, because I guess a big question, and I guess I asked it too, is who's that third linebacker that's kind of stepping up? Well, he doesn't really have an idea. He's got a couple of guys he likes, but really it's not that big of a situation you're trying to figure out at this point. One, in spring, but two, you have a certain amount of guys that you want to identify that can contribute. You're not necessarily looking for a third linebacker.
He said basically you got to understand most snaps you're going to be taking with just 2 linebackers on the field. 70 to 80% of the snaps they've done in their defense the last couple of years have been nickel and dime. And that's not just a college football thing. That's an NFL thing, too. I remember reading a story even 2 years ago saying that even in the NFL, teams that are 3-4 or 4-3 or whatever run their base defense as little as 25% of the time. So getting hung up on the formation and what they're doing with that, it's a little bit different.
Yeah.
Just because there's 3 receivers on the field at every level of football, 4 receivers on the field. He mentioned LSU and Arkansas really being the only teams that really run the pure 2-back traditional offense that you think of in the SEC, and that's the SEC. So, there's going to be more linebackers on the field in some situations, but for the most part, you're still going to be seeing 5 defensive backs, people playing the nickel and having to defend the run, too, against those things.
And Muschamp, like a lot of defensive coordinators, but Muschamp has really mastered this over the years, is that he finds a way to get his best players on the right side of the field to overcome and just, I guess, flood the weaker spots on the field for teams. So when you see his buck position and Carl Lawson, he's going to be at a spot where they feel like that he's going to attack the weakest spot on the field. Any spot. They're going to move guys around quite a bit in this defense. We're not going to see it really in the spring game, I would bet. I bet they're going to run a lot of base stuff. But going forward, and he's even said it tonight when we talked to him, you got to be able to adjust quite a bit during the season. And that's really kind of how this defense has become for him. And over the last few years, as we said, playing a lot more nickel and dime than usual.
So anyway, we'll obviously be paying attention to who the extra linebackers are and when they run, if they're going to run 4-man front or 3-man front. But you got to remember, you can run that a lot of times only if there's not 3 and 4 receivers on the field. And if you think about the SEC and Auburn schedule next year, there'll be a lot of 3 and 4 receiver sets on the field. I have much more coming on that, on the nickel and the safeties and everybody who has to deal with all that stuff at AL.com.